This is Tom Jacobs from tdjacobs.com. And among many things I do, I'm an evolutionary astrologer. And I just pulled up a random set of data. 21 November 1967, 2:01 p.m. in Tokyo, Japan. Just a random thing. I like to do this thing sometimes with the current chart, and I'll say, oh, if you were born today, if you were born at this moment, and then do kind of a karmic analysis of it and just kind of display. The method that I use for understanding a karmic story is looking for what hurts, what's wrong, what's out of balance. So with the 4 steps I'm going to describe and run through this chart, I'm looking at hard aspects. So some people will really have a quandary about sextiles and trines. And when I'm doing chart analysis, I always include sextiles and trines. But when I'm working with a client, when I'm doing an analysis of a karmic journey, it would be rare that you would come in because, let's see, in this case, Mars trines Pluto. It would be rare that you would come in for counseling work. So, with a trine to something. So I'm not that they're always good. It's just that I'm looking for squares and oppositions and conjunctions and quincunxes. I use quincunxes. So, yeah, and if you want to know how I do this and want to learn about the model of soul that forms a basis for all my work, which is channeled model of soul. It's not from Earth's religious traditions coming down through human teachers, but I went to Hermes or Thoth, Jehudi, Saint Germain, Merlin, and got tutored in a different model of soul and how the soul's journey works. And the whole thing I do is the soul's journey. So anyway, if you want to learn how I do this, Evolutionary Astrology Fundamentals 1 and 2 are home study courses available through tdjacobs.com. And then I'm also on the vernal equinox 2024. I will be launching for reals the Multidimensional Evolutionary Astrology School that I've been planning for several years. So stay tuned for all that if you want to learn to study with me. But let me just take you through a 4-step process. Step number 1 is Pluto. I'm just going to name the steps first. The empowerment journey, the soul sets out for you as a human in millions of lives, if not more, including this life, and including house, sign, and aspect, and retrograde status. South node of the moon is number 2, and that tells me what conditioning environments your soul chooses for you to be born to and raised by. So it's families of origin in every life, including this one, but also communities connected to that family and traditions by extension. House sign, and again, hard aspects. And South node ruler by sign is number 3. So like in this chart, South node's Libra by sign. So the South node ruler by sign is Venus. And so that tells me your unique role in many lifetimes and how you expect to be treated. So Pluto is what you have to do to make life feel meaningful. And you need to do it, right? To feel like your life is worth living. Step number 2, the South node of the moon, how you see the world, what you believe the world is and should be like. Step number 3, South node ruler by sign, how you believe you are, how you expect to be treated. And then the North node is what you haven't been shown, but need to learn to integrate in order to become balanced. Because the soul's contracts with family center around the South node configuration, including its aspects. So the North node is what the family's souls and your soul agreed not to learn together, but you have to figure it out to become well balanced. So let's start with number 1. Pluto is the first step of the story. There, I got my little circle going. So this empowerment journey rests on being in the 6th house, so being of service, learning how to be a good team player, learning how to improve things, learning how to sacrifice, exploring duty and responsibility. In Virgo, in a humble way, in a way that seeks to improve things. So you're doing the 6th house is service-oriented behaviors and activities, and improvement, efficiency measures, and then the Virgo thing is actually being efficient and approaching more efficiency. So Pluto and Virgo in the 6th is a journey about being of service. Conjunct Uranus, the person has both clever insights and individual genius regarding efficiency, how to get things done, how to organize things, as well as service healing modalities. So this person has a great deal of cleverness, or would have if this were a real person. And but also this person may get bored easily because this person needs a lot of stimulation, and here's the key, needs to be free. needs to have elbow room to innovate. So the Plutonian empowerment journey through being of service, through learning how to be humble, includes the need to have elbow room to individuate, to innovate, to bring new things to the table. So we can imagine in some lives this person might be quite bored if there isn't room to innovate. That's part of the Pluto-Uranus journey, which a lot of people born in the 1960s have this conjunction. As far as hard aspects, here we have Pluto opposite Chiron and Pisces in the 12th retrograde. So in all of these lifetimes, this person is also confronted with the reality that in the 12th house, we might be overwhelmed by things that are bigger than we are. Chiron can represent pain and suffering in other people, in this case, perhaps in the collective or in the world. And it's retrograde, so it's scattered, it's chaotic. This person needs to figure out how to understand the bigger picture of why things happen. So really briefly, this person is working super hard to innovate and bring new solutions, be detail-oriented, to be of service, and may be confounded or confronted by the reality that, let's say he or she can save, 20 kittens this weekend every week, but there are millions of feral kittens who are having a problem, or homeless veterans or hungry children. The problem is bigger than this person can tackle, though this person is quite motivated to be of help and service. And what that could lead to is having a problem being aware of the pain and suffering in the world, and therefore not wanting to deal with his or her own emotions. We see that a lot with people with Pluto opposite Chiron. There's no character indictment, there's no criticism, but if a person spends a bunch of lifetimes running in circles and working her fingers to the bone to help, and it doesn't seem to really come to fruition, a person might ease up or shut down, or sometimes give up or just be exhausted. Okay, so that's the kind of a quick and dirty Pluto story. Let's get rid of these little circles. That's step number 1, the empowerment journey. Step number 2 centers on the south node of the moon. And so the conditioning environments that she's born into in every life, her root chakra is imprinted with an image when she's born. This is what's normal. Because there are people already here who welcome her and care for her and imprint her, so to speak, blank slate root chakra. So 7th house, oriented toward relationship. She's shown that the world should be about deferring to others or being there for others, either taking direction or just kind of measuring up to what they need or what they want or what they expect. In Libra, being polite, employing fairness, harmony, and balance, maybe even, creativity and kindness and diplomacy. So this person, from the root, from birth, the root is imprinted with the need, the expectation to kind of maybe be a reed in the wind for others, which may end up kind of turning out to be like a doormat energy. Like a person may feel, that he or she doesn't have his or her own right to exist or live his or her own life. So that's a prevailing theme in the family system. Many people are defined by relationship expectations of others, or by their literal relationships and how they function, like being there for other people. Now, when we have a square to the nodes, as we do with this Mars up here, some EA people teach you that it's a skipped or misstep. That doesn't make any sense to me, given what I've learned about the soul's journey and how souls actually learn about being human. My version of this is it's an unresolved issue. Let's say that 4 or 5 things about it really well. Mars, Capricorn, 10th house in this case. But let's say that there are 10 things anybody would need to know to be healthy and happy with that energy. So a person will have habits as well as blind spots, will have preferences and assumptions, some of which are taught directly or modeled directly by families of origin in every life. And some of them are the person's own choices, but many of them miss the mark until the person learns to add to her repertory and make conscious, cogent choices that make rational choices and not just knee-jerk reactions because of habits. So Mars and Capricorn in the 10th, think about Mars as a self-assertive energy, or fighting for something that matters to a person. Leadership, Capricorn 10th house, being in charge, choosing the work that I do, championing a cause and choosing what I do for a living, right? This is in tension with the South Node and the 7th in Libra, where I'm deferring to others' relationship expectations or their expectations of me or their requirements of me. So some possibilities here include I'm not assertive about my place in the world, potentially, one scenario, because I'm really concerned about making others happy. I don't want to have conflict. So I don't assert myself. Another one is no matter what I do, there's conflict. So I'm just going to do whatever the heck I want. And then I have conflict, but I'm doing what I want, even if it makes other people unhappy. There's an unresolved issue. So kind of an imbalanced way of living with this Mars. It can also be perceiving one has to fight, because this can be histories of war or bullying or climbing the ladder, being involved in the rat race and competing, kind of 10th house Capricorn energy, needing to, prevail, needing to win, something like that. Even having pride, pride issues if a person doesn't win. So Mars square the nodes can also be somebody doesn't know if he or she is safe, because violence may be an unresolved issue. Self-assertion, self-defense, saying yes and no to others when you mean it, but also sometimes violence. So potentially, again, bullying, war, that conflict, that kind of thing. So that is the second step of the story here. Let me get rid of these circles. And now we're thinking, and so that's a setup in the family system. The contracts among the souls that create that family have to do with those themes in large part. Everybody's got their own way of dealing with it, but these themes are prevalent. So then step 3, South Node ruler by sign. Again, step 2 is the South Node in Libra. So the ruler by sign is Venus. So this person happens to show up in the same house and sign in every life as the family of origin. Now, it's not conjunct it, but the person has similar Libran 7th house traits and motivations. So let's say this person is shown that you must work with others and be polite and diplomatic. And maybe this person takes it very seriously to show up to make others happy. Person could be an artist, of course, Venus and Libra, South Node ruler in Libra. But it's definitely focused on doing for others, being there for others, adapting to others' needs. So we have, anyway, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but one of the things here is the Pluto in the 6th is I want to be humble and be of service, but I need freedom to innovate with Uranus. And then the 2nd and 3rd steps are in Libra in the 7th. So I'm really aware of what others need. So there's a real setup here for a person potentially sacrificing a lot to be of help to other people. So this person may not know how to be alone, or may read people really well and anticipate their needs and kind of be able to listen super well and put him or herself in others' shoes. There's a great, sometimes a chameleon quality with this kind of a South Node and South Node ruler setup. The major thing to talk about here is the opposition to the Saturn, which is on the ascendant. And so Saturn in Aries from the 12th on the ascendant. So this person in every lifetime will show up with blocks to becoming healthy Saturn, because Saturnian situations and people oppose him or her. And we don't want to become the kind of person who hurt us. So I'm trying to get, when I'm doing this South Node ruler bit, I'm trying to get along with you. I'm trying to adapt to you. How can I make you happy? What can I do for you? And I'm not trying to paint a picture of like a pathetic person, but it's like there's a real orientation toward making people happy. Well, you're blocked by something in Aries in the 12th. Saturn in Aries is kind of like people who are very, heavy-handed or authoritarian figures, authority figures, older people who maybe can't be satisfied or who create conflict, and Aries opposing your peacemaking efforts. In the 12th house, we can ascribe all kinds of different potentials where this person might, it's conjunct the ascendant in Aries, but it's in the 12th house. And so the people who seem to block this chart holder the most, or seem to have this kind of tractor beam dance or something, with this uncomfortable opposition, where they're at odds. Sometimes they don't speak the same language, or they don't work, they're not on the same page. It can be somebody else creating conflict for 12th house reasons, like somebody feels out of control, somebody has mental illness issues, or addiction issues, or chaos or trauma or something like that. Maybe a family member comes home from war and is traumatized, and it periodically comes up, and this person creates havoc in the home, and this chart holder is a peacemaker and a mediator, trying to do whatever it takes to keep the peace and make everyone happy. And maybe that's impossible. It's just one kind of example. It can also be somebody very controlling, where this chart holder can't make them happy and doesn't understand, like, what do I have to do to create peace here? It seems like no matter what I do, there's always somebody unhappy, or so-and-so is always unhappy. Some authority figure, some adult, some older person. Okay, so that is step number 3. Let me get rid of those circles. And then we have the north node of the moon. The way the chart settings are set up, you see this north node of the moon is a finger of a yod. I'm gonna ignore that. It's not real, because it's not a body, it's not a planet, right? The north node, it's a point. Anyway, so what this person, step number 4, needs to learn new things about, that nobody has shown him or her healthy models of. Because remember, the soul's contracts center on the south node story, which is be good, be nice, be compliant, don't make waves, dress nicely, write thank you notes, that kind of Libra and 7th house background. Well, Aries 1st house north node says this person needs to learn independence and how to get in his or her body and trust it, how to honor instinct, how to, like I said, be independent, but it's also putting the self first while overcoming fears of being selfish. Because in a Libran 7th house thing, there's going to be real, like a training, there's going to be real orientation toward not being selfish, right? You care about people, you love them, you put their needs before your own. Well, this person will need to break those habits to grow, and sometimes say no to other people. That's an Aries 1st house kind of thing, as I mentioned, with that Mars in the 10th, the kind of Mars energy. So this person needs to be independent and needs to, maybe say to some family member, hey, look, we talk 3 times a day. It doesn't work for me. I got stuff to do. How about we talk like once a week? And the other person goes, oh my God, I can't deal with that. And this chart holder says, for my sanity, I need to have some boundaries. I need to have some time for myself to do my stuff, or I can't possibly just answer every time you call. So there needs to be self-respecting choices to create independence with this 1st house north node, including risking disappointing others. I'd say that it will disappoint others, even if they're intellectual and smart and have some wisdom. Breaking the habits of our loving relationship connections and creating more independence sometimes makes other people feel alone or lonely. So this chart holder needs to say no to others, but not get too distracted with that picture. Consider that this person needs to say yes to him or herself, and then factor in, through instinct, filter through instinct, what can I do for you? What can I be for you? Because we don't drop the south node, but we learn to balance these two. That's another thing about my teaching. We don't ever drop the south node because we've done it so much, but we learn to integrate the north node and consider both ways of filtering experience and processing life experience. And then we learn to go back and forth in sensible, cogent ways. And that's hard. Nobody wants to do his or her north node, but this is the growth point here. So like I said, if you want to get into studying with me, check out Evolutionary Astrology Fundamentals 1 and 2 on tdjacobs.com, home study courses. And when I say fundamentals, Evolutionary Astrology Fundamentals, it's not an astrology basics course, but it's the fundamentals of the evolutionary approach that I teach, that I've learned a lot from Steve Forrest, a little from Jeff Green, and then I went to the Ascended Master and kind of made it my own a little bit. And so it's the fundamentals of that. So if you don't know what planets are, Go learn what planet signs, houses, etc. And then you can come to me once you have those basics there. But the fundamentals of this 4-step story and the model of soul and how to think of Pluto and the wounding and the empowerment journey, all that stuff is in those 2 courses. And then EA Intermediate 1 and 2 will start on the vernal equinox. So anyway, I'm at tdjacobs.com. Thanks for playing, and take care of yourself.